We'll start with the opening mantra, Purna mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Satsang, let's just a little background info just real quick, is the oldest and most vital practice or tradition of yoga, of meditation, either one. This is the most ancient and oldest system of personal development and self-improvement in the world, this spiritual system called yoga. And the satsang is the oldest practice of that tradition, that system. So the teachings were passed down in satsang. And we continue because those spiritual teachings from 10,000 years ago are still relevant today. Upanishad. So that's a satsang. It's a discourse where you listen deeply. First one is that you're listening with not the calculating mind. You're listening with something beyond that calculating mind, something deeper, your soul, if you would like to refer to it like that. Next is that what I share is from the scriptures. So what happens in a satsang is that the scriptures get expounded. All the volumes, hundreds of thousands, literally hundreds of thousands of verses and volumes in the yoga scriptures. How are we going to access them? They're there, and teachers pull them out in satsang and give them in each age. Spiritual teachers give the satsang in each age according to what is necessary. Satsanga. And the third, so you don't just believe what I say. It should make sense to you. It should resonate with you. It should resound as true for you. And that's how you go about satsang. Listening deeply, reflecting on it, chewing on it, reasoning with it, and then, between yourselves or with yourself, and then afterwards seeing it as a fact. Just like the sun is in the sky, we are sitting here in this room. What we discussed today should be a fact to you. And if it's not right away, it's okay, because it touches your subconscious. These universal truths are picked up by the subconscious and also the conscious mind. There are no auspicious days. There are no special days and least special days, less special days, more special days. There are only, anytime you turn to God or anytime you turn towards the absolute self, there's no special time involved. That's teachings from the Master. There's one in the center over there is Swami Jyotirmayananda, and he is the last remaining direct disciple of Swami Shivananda. And this is one of his teachings, that there are no auspicious days. We get caught up as spiritual aspirants and seekers and yogis and spiritualists that say, okay, like at this time, and this day, and in this ritual, in this way, etc., only then can you unlock the merits, right? It's not the case. These satsangs are not these super serious satsangs where we have to stay quiet, still, don't move, hear a pin drop, these kinds of things. No, because the satsang hall will be empty if you have these rules apply to satsang. Satsang is given in a discourse, in a conversation, not necessarily a conversation, but a discourse, so that all the emotions that are involved with life and all of the directions and angles at which problems in life come at us and solutions that have to be employed, that's why satsang is so important. So you learn like that. You learn how it is in life. The story that I want to share with you is from the Upanishads. the Katha Upanishad. The Upanishads, I should reverse a second, from the Vedas, the spiritual texts that form the basis of the practice of yoga, called the Vedas. They have 4 different types of subjects, and one of the subjects you can say are the called the incantations, right? The samhita, the mantras, the most potent, I would say, the incantations, the mantras, the hymns, the divine words. That's one subject. Second subject would be the brahmanas. The brahmanas are the commentaries based on those incantations, based on those hymns or those mantras. They're in Sanskrit, and Sanskrit is a universal language, so they have to be unpacked as well and given explanations, expounding commentaries. So that's the second subject that the Vedas have contained within them. The third are the aranyakas, the rituals, the ceremonies, the sacrifices. These kinds. You put the ghee and a cotton, you have the flame here, and you do like a little, worship, sacrifice, ceremony, puja kind of deal. That's the third. And then the last one is the Upanishads. The last bit is the Upanishad, which is the spiritual or philosophical nectar from the whole of the Vedas. One of those Upanishads is called the Katha Upanishad, and it is one of the most quoted Upanishads. It has such beautiful language in it. The 3 states, waking, dreaming, deep sleep, that's also focused on the Mandaka Upanishad, but it's also showing up in this Upanishad. So it's one of the most important Upanishads. The story that shows up in this Upanishad starts with in ancient India. A Brahmin, not to be confused with Brahma, which is a god in the Hindu Trinity, the Sanatana Dharma Trinity. That's Brahma. There's Brahman, which is the absolute reality or the substratum of the universe, and then there's the Brahmin, which is a caste, one caste in the caste system. So this is a highest caste, the priest caste. So this ancient times in India, Brahmin is doing sacrifices, rituals, ceremonies, so that, and this particular ceremony was that you have to give away all of your possessions. This is one of the terms of the sacrifice, is that you give away as gifts in the sacrifice, you give all of your possessions. So there is an older Brahmin who's performing these rituals, and he has a son. His son is called Nachiketa. Nachiketa is the name of the son, main persona in the story, the protagonist of the story, Nachiketa. And so Nachiketa and his father. Father's performing the sacrifice, father's doing the worship and the ritual, giving away all the possessions. But Nachiketa is there observing, and he observes his father only giving half the possessions. Oh, by the way, in ancient India, the most prized possession was cows. You had cows in ancient India, you were very wealthy. So we're talking about cows. So he's giving only half the cows. As this story develops, what you want to be listening for is clues into the spiritual life. Do we give half sometimes? Yeah. Right? We think that we're going to give half of our effort, or only I'm going to look spiritual more than I'm actually going to be spiritual. Like any way you want to think about it, we give half. So Nachiketa is observing this half giving. Half of the whole point was to give all your possessions, and he's giving half. What kind of intention are you setting right now in the beginning? Not only was he giving half, but he was giving the cows which could no longer give milk. The cows which were blind. The cows who had, in the scripture it's written, the cows who had drank water for the last time. The cows who had eaten grass for the last time. These cows, completely useless, he gives these cows. Nachiketa, is observing his father doing this and says, "Father, who will you give me to?" Father doesn't answer. He thinks he's just being impertinent. Asks him again, and asks him a third time. And when he asks him a third time, Nachiketa's father got so upset, and he says, "Fine, I give thee to death." And this is in Sanskrit, polite way of saying, "Go to hell." Right? Like, in Sanskrit, "I give thee to death." May you be unto death. Polite way of saying, "Get out of here." Like, so, Nachiketa says, "All right then. I guess I'm going to the Lord of Death, whose name is Yama." Yama in the Katha Upanishad is the Lord of Death, or the King of Death. And Nachiketa goes, don't ask me how, because he's a little boy. So in ancient India, they walked. Sages, saints, they had literally walked across and came into villages, and there are still stories of when the saint entered the village and the place where they sat underneath the tree, etc. So many places around India like this. So he walks, and he finally arrives at the house of death, house of the King of Death. And he gets there, and lo and behold, the King of Death is not there. He's busy. He's on a business trip. There are lots of people dying, right? So the King of Death is not home chilling. There's people dying, so he's gone. And he arrives, and the servants, the minions at the King of Death, the house of death, tell this little boy, Nachiketa, "What are you doing here? King of Death's not here. Beat it." And Nachiketa says, "No, I'm staying until he returns." Another thing, spiritual life, determination, perseverance, fortitude, to get through the shocks that life and spiritual life will throw at you. So they say, "Get out." He says, "No, I'm not leaving until King of Death comes." So he's got such strength in conviction. So then he stays and waits, foodless. I mean, they must have given him some samosas, right, at the King of Death, house of the King of Death, some snacks. Doesn't eat. 3 nights. King of Death finally comes on the 4th day, so he slept 3 nights. And the King of Death comes to his minions and says, "Okay, what's the backlog? Give me the rundown of the last 3 days." And they say, "Okay, nothing, out of the usual, except there's this one little kid over there. He's really stubborn. He won't leave." They didn't want to. If the King of Death gets mad, "Why'd you let him stay? There's a kid over here. Goes to the Nachiketa. King of Death says, "Oh, Nachiketa, son of a revered Brahmin, right? Son of a high caste man." He says, "I'm terribly sorry for your wait. As per usual, if I have done something like this, for every 3 nights that you've waited, for every night, I give you a boon. So you will take 3 boons." And Nachiketa, being a smart and intelligent, a spiritual aspirant, he's like, "All right, let's do this. 3 boons. I'm ready to use my 3 boons." First boon. What would it be? Nachiketa tells Lord of Death, King of Death, "When you send me back to my father, may he not be angry with me anymore. May he recognize me. May he love me again, and may he speak kind words to me." First boon. You said, how many was that? Right? How many boons did he pack in 1 boon? Smart kid, right? When you send me back from death. He who's been sent to death from the Father doesn't expect to return back to life. When you send me back to death, or first, coming back from death. When you send me back, your responsibility to send me back from death. My Father will not be angry with me. Recognize me. In the scripture, in the commentaries, the brahmanas of the scripture, it says recognize me. It means that, so the Father doesn't think he's a ghost because he was sent to the Lord King of Death. He's dead. So he doesn't think I'm a ghost. So he speaks kind, so he loves me again, and so he speaks kind words to me again. And such a such a boon, you'd think that, okay, the King of Death's going to be like, no, that's like too many. No, granted. King of Death, can imagine a big imposing death figure, and he says, smiling, you can have it, take it, all given. That's boon number 1. Boon number 2. What's important to understand about boon number 2 is that back in this day in ancient India, they believed in heaven, or they practiced these ceremonies and these pujas and these aranyakas to enter different levels of heaven. Heavens is the more appropriate word. And there are different levels. They're called swarga, heavens. So this was very a practice that was common for people to do yajnas, do sacrifices to attain swargas, different levels of heaven. And there's a problem with heaven. You say, well, what's the problem with heaven? There's different levels of heaven, you attain divine bodies, etc. But the problem with heaven, as it is laid out in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, Karma Kanda section, is the part that has to do with rituals and rites and ceremonies and observances. And in that section, in this part, it expounds these swargas and these heavens. And the thing is that they are refined versions of this world. They are better versions of this world. They are refined as far as just better, they're material. They're still trapped to matter. And that's the big problem with these swargas, with your goal being to attain the swargas, is that they have the same problem as this world. First of all, in the heaven, you get to the heaven, there's different levels of swargas. So within the beings who get to those levels of heavens has frustration, envy, jealousy, right? There's still that, because it is still a refined version of this world, and those beings carry the more subtler parts of us. Like, we're very like, okay, I'm the body, like, this is separate, my skin is separate, you and me are separate. But there in the swargas, it's more subtle, and the enjoyments are on that subtler plane, but enjoyments no human has ever seen or felt or experienced before. Still, it ends. This world, life, death, it ends, right? The body, this experience of life ends. Same in the swargas. You get to the swarga, you get to the heaven, but only until your merit gets outlasted. The merit that got you, the good merit, the good deeds that got you to the heaven. Then once they're exhausted, you return back to the world. So in the second way is that the heavens themselves are bound to the objects of the senses. It's just more heightened, but still bound to objects of the senses and the material world. So that backstory is important, so you know why Nachiketa is asking the second boon, which is, give me the fire sacrifice. He asks the King of Death, Yama, what is that fire sacrifice that grants the highest heaven right away? I mean, after death. This, you have to wait till you die, then you go to heaven. What is that? And this is the greatest secret of this time. You have to understand, like, this boon, he's got 3 boons, and he uses number 2 to get the fire sacrifice. And you say, if he's an actual seeker, if he's a mature seeker, why is he asking for these fire sacrifices that only take him to the swargas, right? But who knows why he's asking? But maybe he's asking for somebody else or some other people, but he's not asking. You'll see what the real point of the Katha Upanishad and the third boon is. The whole point of the Katha Upanishad. So he gets the he asks for the fire sacrifice, and Yama grants him the fire sacrifice, teaches him how to do it, and calls it, this will forever be known as the Nachiketa Yajna, the Nachiketa fire. He names it after him. Very good. Now, it's time for your third boon. Please ask what you would like for your third boon. And Nachiketa says, he asks the most beautiful question, the most essential question of human life. life and death. There's a shade that separates us living from the dead. His question is to King of Death, to Yama. Some say there's nothing. And some say there's an afterlife that we go on living. Who better to ask than you, King of Death? You know the truth. The essential question of human life. Everyone's got their theories, but no one knows actually, based on first-hand experience. So he asked the King of Death, and the King of Death, who was so eager to teach before, withdraws. Ask a different question. Anything else? How about I give you wealth? Little boy, you can buy all kinds of trinkets. How about I give you so much wealth for your whole life? And on top of that, I will give you enjoyments of the heavens, enjoyments in the heavens, 10 times fold, 20 times fold, and not only just for you, but for your kids and your grandkids as well. You can enjoy a long life, all the riches, all the splendors, all the enjoyments, with not only with yourself, but with your son and with your grandson. Any temptation with a capital T, right? I mean, lordship. He gave him lordship, wealth, anything, enjoyments in the heavens, etc. That's a tough deal to pass up, right? So, temptation, Nachiketa says, thanks but no thanks. Thanks but no thanks. By the way, I'm all good with the swargas in your offer, because once I get there and I outlast all my merits and my karmas, I still come back and I still die. So it's as if nothing changed. Secondly, how much are we able to really enjoy? How much can we really enjoy? Like the Gandhiji, he said, if you pursue pleasures single-mindedly, pretty soon nothing is pleasing. Like this, Nachiketa says, hi death, no thanks. Like King of Death, he offered him chariots, he offered him dancing, beautiful, everything. He said, take your chariots, take your dancers, take your experiences of heavens, I'm all good. I know that I can only live for so long in this heavens and this body, and I will die and meet you again. and secondly, so much enjoyment, really how much can we, one person, one being, enjoy with pleasures? King of Death was happy. He was testing him. And so finally, because Nachiketa has demonstrated, I just got the goosebumps, Shraddha, faith. He's demonstrated that faith which is necessary for realization, for spiritual realization, for enlightenment, for the goal of all yoga and meditation and internal arts. It's at this point that I want to emphasize the story that he has to have that much faith and endurance and fortitude and perseverance for realization, strength for realization. That's what he wants. He won't take the heavens, he won't take the chariots, he won't take the dancers. He only wants liberation from the cycle of birth and death. He wants only enlightenment, immortality. So King of Death says, okay. He teaches them, and he teaches Nachiketa several ways, the Drisha Viveka, the seer and the seen. He teaches them who you are beyond 3 states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. He teaches him the Panchakosha, the 5 koshas. He teaches them this all in the Katha Upanishad. So this faith not a blind faith, right? Because belief already has problems, right? Belief, superstition, that kind of thing already has problems. Just believe and, But with the realization part, we talk about experience. That's the word that we use, is to have the experience of revelation, of the vision of the self, of truth. That's called the enlightenment. That's called revelation. So that experience, how do I know if I'm having a legitimate experience, spiritual experience that helps me through the path, or how do I know if I'm having an experience that's going to distract me or take me down a different path? And you would want to, Nachiketa asks King of Death these questions. What's truly good and what's pleasurable? Pleasurable is maybe good in the beginning, but causes pain in the end. Good actions are those that may be good or bad in the beginning, or good or painful, pleasurable or painful in the beginning, but are always good in the end. So that's kinds of things that he goes through, and he's taught the spiritual life by Yama. So this realization piece, right? The last stage, you have to have the faith, the strength, that there is truth to the teachings of yoga, right? All the books, all the scriptures, there is truth to the teachings. That's what I mean by faith. That's what I mean that tens of thousands of beings came to this planet and lived the teachings. And those are also the examples that we have of realization. What does it look like? So if it makes you more God-centered, if it makes you more humble, if it helps you become a better person inside, then accept. And if it doesn't, then dismiss. So one of the teachings the last teaching I want to bring out from the Katha Upanishad is that why is it so difficult to realize this immortality, this self that I actually truly am already, that we all are already? Why is it so difficult to realize it? The answer is that our awareness is always moving out. Always our awareness, our energy, our consciousness is always being drawn out. Through where? Senses. Touch, taste, feel, smell. Always our awareness is being drawn outside from within where the real self dwells. So how? The analogy and the example is given as a chariot. The chariot. In a chariot, what is in a chariot? Chariot is being driven by horses. Horses have reins attached to the horses. The reins are being held by the driver. And the driver is driving the passenger. And so through this depiction in the Katha Upanishad, we can see who we are and how we can make this realization, this goal of ours and all of human life possible. The chariot is the body. The chariot, the body, is being driven by the senses. Eat, drink, move, see, do, hear, talk, everything, right? Our body, our physical body, this vestment, is being driven, controlled by the senses. 5 horses. Those senses, our senses. Who's got control of the senses? Our senses, the mind, right? But more specifically in this analogy, it's the intellect. The intellect is the driver. The intellect is the driver, the mind are the reins. So the senses have the mind attached to them, and the senses feed the information, and the mind controls the senses. So the reins are attached. The mind is the reins. Senses are the horses. Chariot is the physical body. Intellect is the driver. Intellect is holding on to the mind, right? The intellect is holding on to the reins and steering the senses so the body can follow. The passenger is you. You are the passenger being driven in the chariot. The soul, your truth, your reality is being driven by these instruments called mind and senses, mind-body complex. The track, the road that the chariot is driving on are the objects of the senses. Objects of the senses, things that you touch, taste, smell, hear. The body's moving along that track, right? That road. The things that you're touching, smelling, tasting, hearing, feeling. It's as if the passenger has forgot who he is or she is and has identified completely with his or her surroundings. The chariot, the horses, the reins, the driver, but has forgotten himself or herself. The Upanishad, if you ask me where I am, I'm here. Whose birthday is it, right? My birthday. No, this is the body. This is. So what we're doing is shifting the reference of I. That's what we're doing. We're shifting the reference of I from the body, from the senses, from the mind, from the intellect. The intellect is that which you're using right now to understand. So it seems like it's you, but it's not you. It's an instrument. It's a tool. It's the driver. You are the passenger. Intellect is used, right? It's a tool. So, body. This is where the body. I am me. Yoga asks you to take one step beyond. Go one step deeper. The breath, right? The whole mindfulness practice the whole mindfulness thing would vanish. The whole mindfulness movement would vanish if it wasn't for the breath. Awareness of the breath, awareness of the energies. I'm awake, I feel awake, I feel tired. So I must be the energies associated with the breath. Nope. Yoga says go one step further. And I'm not saying that you all thought you were your breath, but you can see what I'm saying. Like, we go deeper, more. We always start as teaching. With teaching, any good teaching starts with what is known to the unknown. What is known to you, what's good, graspable, to what then is unknown. From what is near to you to what is far. And what is for you now to what will be for you in the future. That's what good teaching does. But let's look at it from the yoga or the Vedanta point of view. From known to unknown. No? From known to the very root of knowledge. From near to far. From near to the very nearest. The self, the soul, you, your truth is not far. It's nearest of the near. From what is to what will be. Not will be. You already are Brahman. You already are immortal. So we're getting to the reality of your existence, your isness, your experience right now. Go one step further beyond the breath, the energies. Okay, I'm the mind, the emotions, I feel the mind, I feel my thoughts, I feel my emotions. I must be them. They also come and go, so therefore you are not your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings. Okay, then I must be the intellect. I must be this reasoning faculty where I can understand and I cannot understand. This must be who I am. I can understand something and I cannot understand something. I am aware of my experience of understanding versus not understanding. So therefore, it must not be you. You are that which is the experiencer, and all other objects are experienced. So you can only be the experiencer. And body has become you're experiencing the body, object, not you. Breath, I'm experiencing the breath, object, not you. Mind, thoughts, feelings, I'm experiencing them, also not you. Intellect must be me. I can be aware of my understanding and aware of my lack of understanding. Also not me. So you say, go one step, it's just a blankness. Sudarshan, I don't know if you try to go back beyond, farther back, it's blank. Are you aware of that blankness? It's also not you. That's last stage, which is a void of, it's a subconscious, it's an unconscious, vast blankness. And if you, because you are aware, it's your experience, you are aware of that blank feeling beyond the intellect, where you go to when you are in deep sleep, when your mind is off, the body is laying the bed. No dreams, no mind, no dreams. So that blankness that you wake up from, also not you. You are the light that shines beyond them all. You are the sun. That is not the reflections of the sun. You are the actual sun. You are the passenger, experiencing the world, the body, the senses, the mind, the intellect, even that space of blankness or void beyond the intellect. You are shining beyond them all. And to know oneself as beyond body, beyond mind, something that does not come and go, is to be immortal. And immortality is realized, not gained or lost. Remember the story of Nachiketa. Nachiketa, observant of his father, watching, waiting, fearless. Asked his father 3 times. Father says, I will send you to death. May you be him to death. Fearless. Okay, I guess that means I'm going to see King of Death now. Stays there even though King of Death is not there, doesn't know when he's going to return. That's called titiksha. Titiksha, fortitude, firmness, steadfastness. So what was his first ask? He's a child. So that's beautiful. The Upanishads retain the psychology, the subtle psychology of a little boy. What would a little boy want? His father is upset with him. So he wants the first thing, his first boon is, so my father's not upset with me. He's so innocent. Yet, second boon, remember how he said, you're going to send me back to King of Send me back to my father. Second boon, fire sacrifice, attaining the best heavens. The culture at the time. And even amongst all the temptation, he asks the third boon. He wants realization and nothing else. And this is, as you all are learning what Skylight Yoga is about, what this school is about bringing you to that mature level of practice, that mature level of understanding, where Nachiketa was when he has the faith that there is truth to those ethics and morals and spiritual ideas. Where did our morals come from today? They came from the major religion. Where did the religions get them from? From the scriptures, from the oldest scriptures. That's where our current set of morals comes from. Finally, throughout all the temptation of all the swargas, all the riches, all the lordship, everything, throughout all of, can we ourselves, can we as aspirants, as Nachiketas, display the same type of characteristics? If so, the path is clear. And that next level is where I lead you as in your spiritual evolution and your spiritual advancement, is to seek that one realization. And we'll conclude with this. Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivadanam urvarukamiva bandhanan mrityurmukshiyamamrita. Om sarve bhavantu sukhina sarve shantu niramaya sarve badanani pashantu ma kaschit tukabhag bhavet asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.